Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Living Seas. So glad to have you all here. Welcome to our big release stream. It's been a long time coming. We're very, very happy with where we are. And again, thank you so much for joining all of us. So, as you know, I am Sean Patrick Holland, the project lead behind Futureport 82, and I wanted to start by introducing some of our major collaborators, starting with, of course, Spencer. Do you want to give a bit of an introduction?
Member for 11 years. I love Epcot. And during pandemic, I got kind of bored and wanted to try to learn 3D modeling, so I started off with a hydrolator, and it kind of grew from there. Found Sean's project and got really interested in collaborating, and wow, 4 years later, here we are. Excited to show off some work.
Absolutely. It is great to see. Let me actually just change that because we can actually be in product at this point. There we go. Now we are in game. Still not terribly great at streaming, but we are getting there. So welcome, Spence. Thank you so much. Obviously, we wouldn't be here today without the tremendous work over many, many years to make all of this happen. So it's so great to really see where we've ended up. Next, why don't we kick over to Shaw, who I believe is the next person. Shaw, want a bit of an intro from yourself?
Real quick,
Hi.
Sean. Actually, hold on. We're getting some notes that I am super quiet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm noticing that too.
Just one sec. Let me. All right. I've just much boosted up your audio, and I'm also raising up the Discord audio. So hopefully that will be good at this point. We hopefully the audio will be a little better than some of the past streams. At least I have better control over everything that's happening right now. So that's certainly nice. One sec. All right. Cool. Great. Yeah, Shaw. Bit of an intro.
Alright, now that the mic issue is resolved, most of the people in the Sun's Discord would have seen me as the Shaw, aka the person who was modeling the Coral Reef restaurant.
Exactly. Shaw reached out, and because of the original plan was we weren't really going to bother at all with the coral reef. We're just like, I didn't have the effort for it. I wasn't going to do it. I've never actually been inside of it, so I felt, I'm not going to really bother. And then Shaw was just like, I'll do it. I'm like, cool. All right, welcome aboard. And we were luckily able to get it into this part of the project, which makes me so very, very happy. Shaw, super glad to have you here. And finally, what is really interesting about the four of us is that we are kind of from all over. So I'm originally from Boston, but currently in Sydney, Australia. Spence, I believe you're currently in Texas. Shaw, you
Yes.
are in California.
That's indeed correct.
And finally, 404. Do you want to sell? As the monorail goes by, I'll just pan over to take a look at that. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're located.
Hello, I'm 4411 or just 44. I am from Portugal, and my interest in Epcot comes from my dad. He lived in Miami for 2 years and actually saw the very early years of Epcot. I did visit back in 2015. He said it was the cool park, and I did enjoy it. And then I saw that it used to be a lot different, and this project started to recreate that. And since I'm a fan of preservation, I decided to try and help with research because not a lot is available, but if you look for it, stuff shows up, and indeed it has.
Absolutely. So it's great just to see the folk from all around the world who are coming to remember the great history of Epcot Center. Also, Bob, no, the monorail glides as softly as a cloud. All right, so let's get into the Living Seas. If you have questions in chat, by all means, go for it. Just a little bit of a run of what we're going to do. We're going to take you from beginning to end, all the way through the Living Seas. Now, for those of you who may not have actually experienced Living Seas, what's really interesting is, well, each of the pavilions inside of the original park, they had a certain flow to it. In so many ways, it was not as, I guess, broken up as it was in the Living Seas. Obviously, for something like Spaceship Earth, you ride, you go to Earth Station, you leave. You go to World of Motion, you ride, you go to the post show, and you leave. Living Seas, you go into a queue, you go into a pre-show, you go to another pre-show, you get taken well under the sea in the Hydrolators, you go through Seabase Alpha, where you actually do get to break it apart a little bit, but it is a very much bit after bit after bit type of experience, and one of the major goals we had in this project was to recreate each and every one of those parts. Now, we're going to start in the exterior, and of course we see the United Technology sponsorship. RIP Hydrolators indeed. 100% agree with that, Justin. Excuse me.
Well, here's the thing. They live on now, you know, in a way. Hopefully you'll get a little taste.
Absolutely. Agreed entirely. So let's hop in and start taking a look at what we call the eel queue. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this because I did a fair bit of this. So inside of the eel queue, this is really taking you through the history of how man has really interacted with the seas. This is obviously quite a bit different from the current version. That's going to be a recurring theme throughout all of this stream today. But in the eel queue, you're going to start seeing from the very early days of man starting to fish and go underwater, from the earliest of diving bells as we see in front of us, through art from East Asia and the Islamic world. We have an early diving bell, that little white area. Remember that if you press the white the center scroll wheel button, you can actually go through multiple levels of zoom inside of the project, which is really useful for a lot of the detail inside of TLS. But that's where you'd put your armhole through, and here's a little diagram of what is absolutely a death trap. I don't know about y'all, I definitely wouldn't want to go in this. You'd have to be crazy, but, you know, it was the olden times.
No thanks. I'm good.
No, hard pass. Absolutely.
I'll look
hard
at
pass.
it from the outside is great.
Exactly. I think it's cool there. You don't have to whack your head on it. You don't have to drown inside of it. You're good to go.
I will say that, Sean, you did a great job sourcing these photos and reproductions. It all looks so good.
Thank you so much, Google reverse image search, because I would pull out these like 16 by 16 blurry disaster images, and Google image search was like, did you mean this high quality piece of art from the Metropolitan Museum of Art? I'm like, yes, actually I did. So yeah, it was very nice. We're still missing a bunch of what was actually here, what I would love to have, but to give you a taste, I really, we just tried to recreate everything we could. Here, obviously this would be in full 3D, but much like World of Motion, we do have more of the static cutouts as of right now. This is the gentleman of, I can't remember, I think it's like Eastern Europe, but yeah, definitely an absolutely terrifying leather early diving bell thing. Hopefully the audio is doing well, folks. We tried to have a good balance between the voices and the in-game. I'm just going to kind of look through some of the big items. Yeah, exactly. So as Pieface is mentioning, this is definitely the boardwalk part in the current Nemo ride thing. Thanks, Bob. Glad the audio. That's good, because given the audio we've had in the past, whoo boy, having a new, even cheapo mic from Amazon does hit the mark. All right, we're just going to keep on rolling. As you can see, there's a lot of art pretty much in the place where they were. Now, what we do have that was actually there are the absolutely incredible, if you just ask for one of my favorite bits of art, like this era, this just whiz-bang, anything is possible, insane early sci-fi. I mean, how cool are these cover arts for real magazines back from the 1920s and 30s? What a golden era for insanity. You gotta love it. Also, anytime you replace a CS with an X, maybe it's just because I'm a Sox fan. Red Sox, to be clear.
There you go.
It's my favorite, We have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We got us a suit. We have us a more different suit. But, so this is really the eel queue. If I turn around and look back over, you can see you're gradually gaining a little bit of height. Now,
Really quick,
go for it.
the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea model was just sourced, I think, randomly off the internet. But the diver is from our friend Trumbull that
yes.
Actually works at what's the other project? I can't remember.
probably should have looked this up. Damn it.
I can't remember, but they are doing also 3D stuff. So that is actually from his recreation of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea
Right.
attraction. So I
Yeah.
borrowed, with his permission, of course, that model from there.
Yep. Brilliant. Definitely recommend looking up the 20,000 Leagues recreation because it is really, really nifty. Thank you for that
I
call
think it's
out.
Defunct Land, I believe is.
Exactly. Yep. That's Defunctland
Yes.
VR,
Yeah,
who did the
Defunctland.
20,000. Also, just because I have to shout it out, go and watch his symphonic review of Epcot Center, the best YouTube video, other than this current one we're on, that's ever been created. It's remarkable. All right, so now we have a surprise for everyone. Mostly. It got a little bit out of the bag yesterday, but Joshua Harris of Epcot Legacy E82 has been absolutely cranking out work for the last couple of weeks to get a full source recreation of the United Technology pre-show that literally dropped into my hands under 24 hours ago is how much he's been slamming through. It is insane how much work he put into this. And so for the first time, basically since when would this have actually closed? When do you think the pre-show was last shown actually in LBV? 2002, 2004?
No, it was way before that because the pre-show was, all those slides were taken out. It was replaced with time slides from the post UE. So if anybody can look up really quick when the UE sponsorship ended, that would have been when it was last shown.
98. That's where it ended. So I think they replaced them in 98.
So you can see that 404 is our specific researcher / historian who knows all the things that I can't be bothered to look up. So shout out 404.
He's the guy that knows the stuff.
Everything. We ask him for just the most obscure and immiserating research. And he's like, here it is. You got it. All
It's
right.
magic.
So what we're going to do is we're going to walk into the pre-show. We're going to, now we have it set to just like kind of constantly run. So it's not necessarily going to trigger just when I walk in. So we may have to let it sit for a little bit. We're just going to kind of be quiet on our end and watch the pre-show, see it. I'll walk around just to give some of the 3D audio that you have, but enjoy it because it's quite an experience.
Is proud to welcome you to the living sea.
We started right at the beginning. Can you believe it?
In a few moments, you will be entering the Earth's greatest frontier, the oceans. Before your adventure begins, consider for a moment the accomplishments of those courageous pioneers who have come this way before you. It was their insatiable curiosity and engineering skill that parted the waves for today's subsea explorers. Throughout history, we humans have faced many challenges in our quest to understand the living seas. To overcome darkness, pressure, and lack of air, we developed diving bells, aqualungs, and submarines, tools which gave us a closer look at our underwater world. With new knowledge, we built new tools, robots, and manned submersibles. Each advance in technology brought about the opportunity to explore further and to learn more, transforming vision, curiosity, and wonder into practical knowledge. This tool-building process has created a rich bounty of new ideas, from microchips to robotics, from rocket-powered spacesuits to computerized sailing ships. Virtually every aspect of our lives has been enriched by human innovation. And United Technologies is proud to play a leading role in aerospace, electronics, and in providing systems for intelligent buildings, committing the technology we create today to the exploration of new frontiers tomorrow. So come with us now to discover the sea, a resource so precious that our very existence depends on its health and well-being. A realm shrouded in mystery, yet possessing enormous potential for humanity. And now, from around the world, the men and women of United Technologies invite you to join us as we cross the threshold into the future of the living seas.
So I want to talk through a couple things about this, and I'll wait for it to actually cycle so we can kind of show it. Hopefully you can hear my voice pretty over the actual audio. But a couple things I really want to highlight, which is, so what we're hoping to do in a future update, not really sure exactly when that would come out yet, but what we would hope to do for a future update, we kind of refer to this as phase 1, so basically phase 2, is that we really look to kind of program this whole area out as it was, where you would have T1 and T2. I can never remember which is which, but that's not important. There's the other theater I haven't modeled so far. But what we would pretty much do is actually have it programmed so you could, maybe have the bypass directly to the hydrolators through that door. So there's a little bit more to do inside of this. But for right now, we just wanted to kind of give the flow and still give you full access to walk through everything that you need. The next thing I really want to focus on, you actually just saw it. So if you see how these icons fade out, it's not just a simple fade. Because Josh is such an expert at After Effects, which may as well be just wizardry as far as I'm concerned, is the wibbly weird effect that he has. That's not just a simple fade, that is a very specific practical effect that he's able to really accomplish or recreate inside of After Effects, which is incredibly powerful, incredibly high quality, really brings it to life. It's one of those little bits that brings this to life. I know he is so proud of how this is, as he should be, because it looks incredible.
Yeah, he perfected that technology whenever he was reproducing the amorphous purple blob in Spaceship Earth. So I knew he was the right person to come to for this.
Exactly. Yeah, we're so happy to have this. It looks all great, and it's very nice to have it just accurate and give that feel. Vibes is always so much a focus of what we try to build, along with just the sheer accuracy. But it really gets that vibe across, which is really important. If we have nothing else that we really want to say about UT pre-show, roundtable, anything else?
There is a scripted intro for the next section. If you would like, I can ring that off real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So, depending where you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Spencer, and welcome to the Living Seas. Ocean exploration has come a long way. We now have a better understanding of our involvement with the sea. How did it form? When did it form? And what possibilities lie ahead? Possible answers to these and many other questions are about to surface in a dramatic film simply entitled The Sea. Please remain seated and refrain from smoking and flash photography during the show. And now, the beauty and splendor of The Sea.
What could be more original Epcot than that script? Dead on. So now we get into the pre-show that everyone remembers. Just before we go into The Sea, what I really also just like about the UT pre-show is it's bringing those things back to life that I feel so many people have forgotten. Everyone remembers the deluge. Everyone remembers hydrolators. Everyone remembers walking into Seabase Alpha. I don't think a lot of people really remember UT pre-show, but there was so much artistry and beauty and just quality and charm in each of these. And it's really about bringing those to life that make this whole project really why we do what it is that we do.
If I could share a quick memory, I remember seeing the UT pre-show from my dad's shoulders as a child.
See, that's great.
So yeah, I remember that half screen, and it was like, why are we walking under the screen? That's strange to me. Anyway, that was it.
I mean, but that's important. That's those memories are key. All right, so now we're going to walk into the sea. Now, one other grand contribution from Josh from E82 is that we originally were going to use a single, probably like mono mix for the audio. Now,
It was mono, yeah.
It was mono, yeah. And so what Josh was able to provide was isolated, I want to make sure I have this right, left, right, front center, back center, and then an instrumental that's meant to be more full audience. So you actually get more of that directional audio feel. So where you go in and pick a seat, it will actually change the experience that you have because of the 3D audio that we do have, which is really cool to have. So we're also just kind of going to let the sea roll for a little bit as we go through. Hopefully you will all remember this, and then we'll do a bit of a recap. let's walk in. Also, I just want to one other thing to talk about because I may scroll a little bit while we're in there or just look around. Is we have like an 8 by 8 pixel bit of a blob of what the wall carpet or plaster or whatever it is in this might have looked like. It's extremely dark and hard to see because not many people were taking photos in here, but I did my best to do a bit of a recreation, a bit of my own design thing there. So if you do see the waves on the upper surround wall, don't assume that's completely accurate. It's just meant to kind of give you the feel of what might have been there.
It looks great, Sean.
Thanks. I think I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah. So yeah, we'll take a look. This one does trigger when you enter. All right, let's take a seat.
Try to imagine, just for a moment, that somewhere in the endless reaches of the universe, on the outer edge of a galaxy of 100,000 million suns, deep within a cluster of slowly forming planets, a small sphere of just the right size lies just the right distance from its mother star, cooling in the coldness of space. Try to imagine. Those spew clouds of gas and steam into the sky from melted mineral formations. And then that cloud-covered planet waits. And waits. And waits. Until finally those clouds of gas and steam condense and rain upon that planet. Rain upon that planet, Earth. And they rain, and rain, and rain. The deluge. A deluge of such magnitude that the world's greatest waterfalls, flowing together for more than 1 million years, would only just begin to approach its results. For when it finally stopped, the seas had been born. Seas that would make this planet unlike any other within the realm of our knowledge. For it was there, sheltered from cosmic radiation, that the means to support life on Earth was able to emerge. Tiny single-celled plants, phytoplankton, that capture the energy of the sun and convert it into that most basic of life-sustaining elements, oxygen, creating more than half the Earth's supply. But more than that, those same seas interact with that same solar energy and the Earth's rotation to serve as the engine that drives all the world's weather. Yet these phenomena occur in only the first few hundred feet of seas that average greater than 2 miles in depth. And it is there, in those depths, in an endless night, darker than the darkest night on land, that we are just now beginning to explore an amazing world. There, amid raging underwater storms and fiery underwater volcanoes, mountain ranges that dwarf the Himalayas and gorges 4 times deeper than the Grand Canyon, there, 2 miles deep in that darkness, an amazing world. A world where the cold sea pours deep into the mountain's warm core through immense cracks in its surface, and then rises back to the ocean floor as a superheated mineral-laden fluid emitting what to us would be lethal concentrations of poisonous chemicals. Yet, incredibly, around these strange vents, exotic life forms flourish. Life forms that have astonished biologists by finding the means for their survival, not in photosynthesis and the sun, but in the chemicals of the earth itself. Chemosynthesis, an ecosystem like none other on Earth. Until now scientifically inconceivable, yet there, nevertheless, deep beneath the sea, waiting for our discovery. Waiting in a world where we've spent less time than on the surface of the moon. A world we've only just begun to explore, with tools we've only just begun to imagine. Tools with which we'll go where no one has gone before. Searching these seas for the knowledge they conceal and the resources they hold. For answers to our past and keys to our future. What kind of future will it be? Try to imagine, just for a moment, a future of amazing technological creativity. A future of incredible adventure and discovery. A future of remarkable awareness and understanding. Try to imagine. For we welcome you now to take the first steps into that future. We welcome you to the living seas. We welcome you
Hey folks,
to
just
Seabase
give me
Alpha.
1 second because my audio appears to have died on my headset, so just give me 1 sec. Spence, if you have anything you want to add at this point, I may just need to do a little bit of background work. Hey, Marissa. We are. So I lost the ability to watch the YouTube comments, and I didn't want to kill the audio, so I loaded it up on my phone, and that ruined everything in my life. So sorry about the audio, but you know, that's just what happens. As long as everyone can still hear me and the stream and everything, we should be good to go. And I'm going to throw my phone off my balcony.
We are now approaching our destination. Welcome. Our experimental prototype community.
Cool. As we wait the fun 15 seconds of terror. Brilliant. All right. So sorry about that, folks. But, you know, of all the things we tested, I didn't think that would completely break down everything. Nico, let's talk a little bit about that while I get back to where we were. Fortunately, because I don't actually make us go through the whole cycle, we don't have to actually watch, as lovely as they all were, we don't have to watch each of those pre-shows again. So let me just quickly zoom through without making everyone horribly motion sick. Sorry about that. We are hoping to have an announcement on whatever it is that comes next that we are internally calling Project Kennel Club in the next couple of weeks. We don't have an exact date for it right now. We are hoping to announce what comes next in the next couple of weeks. It is going to certainly be a big announcement, so it's not something you are going to miss. We have one vote for being made motion sick, so cool. I can definitely make that happen. Yeah, so the Seas looks great. The audio is great. Thanks again to Josh. It is really, really lovely. And anything else you want to add about the Sea before we get to HQ?
Within a cluster of slowly forming planets, a small sphere of just the right size lies just the right distance from its mother star, cooling in the coldness of space. Try to imagine.
Okay, one sec.
Now that...
Cool. All right, just, sorry, 1 second, folks. Okay, Discord audio, can y'all... Okay, now I think you're good. Discord folk, can you say... Good? Okay, I think we're good now.
Spencer checking in.
Great. All right. Sorry about that. Now I think we have all audio up and running again, and we should be good to go for you all. All right. So, let's get to Hydrolator Q. So yeah, this is absolutely one of the high points of both the real-life pavilion and our recreation. Hydrolator Q. This is why when I did my initial rollout, where sadly I screwed up the time so Spencer couldn't attend, this is what I chose to start from. I basically clipped through the walls so we could show where we were. This is really the first major bit that I wanted to just show off because it is so important. So yeah, question coming in from Ride Tracks is, yeah, so basically there's a theater here to our right. If you look straight ahead, oh, I love this zoom feature. This is the other T1, Theater 1. And then you met in the middle. The pre-show would just be through, the UT pre-show, I should say, would be directly through these doors. And then you have the Hydrolator, and it does look great. We've, Spencer put a lot of work specifically into the floors, which look wonderful. We were able to get source audio for the actual spiel that goes on in the background, which sounds really great. And, I mean, it's a great vibe. It looks modern, as we saw in the comments. Let me just lower the audio a little bit, 1 second.
Really quick about the hydrolators themselves. We have resources, some available blueprints for most of the pavilion. The hydrolators were all reproduced strictly from photographs, and a lot of, if this equals that, then that has to be this. So a lot of graphics, of course, were, from old photographs. We had some images provided by, again, Joshua helping out very much with the graphics on the displays. But yeah, hydrolators were definitely a work of love for me. Those are my babies.
Absolutely. That's why we really wanted to make it a major bit of what we were going to have inside the pavilion because the hydrolators are so important. So there's just so much love from the recreated panels. Let's just zoom right in because they look beautiful. That was all Spence's work, and I, after many different iterations, made sure that the programming would hopefully work the way it should with the various bits. But yeah, otherwise it looks great. The audio sounds great. We just tried to put a lot of care and love into this so memorable and so important area. Now, just to not completely drive myself crazy, right now we have only programmed the middle, Hydrolator number 2, also because that's the actual audio in source or near source that we do have available. So we decided, just for ease of use, instead of having to hack through the 1 and 3 audio, we're just going to go with number 2 itself. So yes, you are definitely going to have some of these on official Seabase Alpha with the Marine Safety Research Institute logo down at the bottom. Just some Hydrolator 2 in progress.
Oh, I just noticed you did that. Looks great.
I originally had an FB82 logo. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Let's keep this kayfabe in here. So yeah, that's looking good. Now, what we don't have and what gripes both Spencer and my ass is that we don't yet have. Oops. I'm just gonna be quiet for a second.
Take small children by the hand and watch your step as you board.
I will answer Zachary's question really quickly. The line of people split into 2 different theaters. The pre-show was half the length of the Seas movie. So as the pre-show cycled through and ended, the ending of one pre-show filled one theater, Theater 1, and then the ending of the second pre-show filled Theater 2. So as they were both cycling, you were able to have each side filled with less waiting.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the hydrolators. I assume this is going to maintain, but I don't trust my programming enough. Let's just let the hydrolators run. Let's enjoy it.
Hydrolator number 2, descending to Seabase Alpha. Roger, number 2. Notify when cleared of docking port. Docking port cleared. Seabase Alpha, hydrolator on approach. Hydrolator number 2 in lockout chamber.
So let's just recap a little bit about what happened there. I guess I didn't mean to really trigger it quite as early as I did, but it's fine in terms of the actual like preload. But we have the moving rock wall, great work on that, Spence. We have all the recreated, really beautifully recreated certificates and panels. We have a whole bunch of lights in here, like a crazy number of lights. They are programmed to turn on and off and through an actual sequence. Boy, I hope I don't get locked in here. But then we have the bubbles that actually do move as you proceed, which is pretty great. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much detail. This is so many ways the reason why, again, we're all gathered here today when Spence started working on this so many years ago, and it truly looks wonderful. Spence, your show. What else do you want to say about your babies here? Spence, not sure if you're on mute.
I was completely on mute. My apologies.
We've all done it. It's all good.
I don't know. I just like looking at it. That's the best thing I can say. I built it because I wanted to see it, and now that I've done that, everybody else can see it, and that's what makes me happy. The little things like, figuring out the right size and shape for those vents upon the air vents. Those are actual, AC vents for the hydrolator above the doors. The panels themselves, getting that look down, because only the 2 by the exit door are illuminated for the back. The rest are all front light. The one we're looking at there in the center, and then the elevator certificate, quote unquote, on the wall that has all those fun facts on there. Besides that, really getting the audio from Joshua was a great help.
Mm.
Yeah. Only like a couple 1,000 pounds, and we're going 125 feet is the depth rating there. So it's a quick trip, but down far enough to get some things. And if you'll take a look also on the threshold as you exit, one of United Technologies' big things was to make sure that the folks knew that that was an Otis elevator. So we got that logo from actually the escalators in
Escalator?
the
Yeah,
main
yeah.
pavilion. They are still there in that same style typeface. So hopefully that's a good reproduction. I couldn't find any photos of it close up, but
It's pretty
that's
close.
it. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It looks great. It's a great experience. Really, really happy. Um, cool. Well, so now we're going to transition into GVSA, which stands for guest.
Guest vehicle staging area.
I figure I would know that at this point. I definitely don't. Oh, also side note, yeah, just do keep an eye out that the actual arrow indicators do go from the surface level down to the main level. So keep an eye out for that when you go. Is pretty cool. Well, good, Sharam. I'm glad. It's supposed to trick you that they're real. I mean, of course they are real. I don't know what you're talking about. They do take you down. I don't know how they managed to rebuild it for the Nemo version. Must be some wizardry right there. So now we're going to go into GVSA. And
one of my favorite things
yep.
about GVSA is there is a great chatter channel that kind of starts to get you into the immersion of the base itself, of the chatter of the folks talking over the operations network about what's happening around. A sea jeep is coming here. We have some communications coming in from Seabase Omega. So make sure to listen to those, hang around and have some time. It meant to kind of entertain in a way that only like Star Wars Land does now, with this immersion, and kind of get you into, yeah, I'm really in a sea base. I just made a journey down into the ocean where people are working and researching. So
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
I absolutely loved especially the overly serious. Just we need to just get the point across. It's great banter, just top notch.
Another fun thing is anyone that's worked in at Disney and had a radio that's used 10 codes, they use the same 10 codes, like a 10 code is like 10-4, that the cast members do in the parks, and consequentially is the same ones that are used in Orange County. So just a little fun little tidbit there. And
Well,
Sean, those blinking lights above the hydrolator doors look great.
they do. It's nice. Yeah, it's just like the sine wave effect to kind of blink in, blink off. Also, fun international thing. Whenever I say 10-4 here in Australia, they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's a North America only thing, which I had to learn the hard way. It's weird, right? Also, New Hampshire is the only state in the union that says 10-5 for affirmative. Because
That is deeply strange to me, but
well,
okay.
that's New Hampshire, baby. All right, let's get
Fun.
into sea cabs, and I want to also point out we're gonna have to like board as I go closer. We have recreated the
Another
load.
wonderful Trumbull creation, those sea caps.
Yes, the sea cabs look amazing. They are so beautiful because my version was real bad, real
I didn't
real
even
bad.
attempt it.
Yeah, I did. Didn't go great.
There's also a thing about the boarding sign. It's a small detail, but if you see on some pre-release videos and actually some that were recorded, the now boarding doesn't fully disappear when the light is off. So that is something that's represented.
Yes, I originally
Oh,
had
yeah.
it so that it was emissive only, and it wouldn't turn to orange when it wasn't lit up. But yeah, so that was a very good shout from 404 who found that, and we made a tweak to the sign.
Great detail.
Great little detail. That's what we focus on. Yeah, 404 was great for finding a lot of just miscellaneous stuff. As for who was doing the announcer voices, don't worry about it so much. But you may find that the female voice you have heard elsewhere inside of Futureport 82.
It's just a show. You should really just relax. Thank you for getting that reference, if you did. Quick little detail about the wall, I guess, to the left of load. You cannot tell in photographs that there is a texture on that little ribbed area beside those X panels. those have teeny tiny holes in them, and there are a few places where those still exist in current, whatever it's called, the Seas with Nemo and Friends. So getting that texture out and actually seeing that, and then looking closely at old photographs and saying, oh gosh, that's not just grain on a photo, that is that actual
Actually, in
texture.
fact, yep.
Yeah, was really interesting.
And of course, the fun fact on the plastic panel is that those are
Yes.
also used in Star Tours.
Yes, they are. That
Alright.
strip in the middle, the caution strip, is reflective like a road sign. We had trouble kind of getting that reproduced here in Unreal, but we are working on it.
I think I had it as specular, it's just kind of not popping the way I want, so definitely something we can tweak. Alright, let's board. So we're going to hop in, and we're going to let the sea cabs roll. We'll be back in a little bit. The moving platform is traveling at the same speed as your vehicle. Please take young children by the hand, look down, and watch your step onto the platform.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Commander Fulton. On behalf of our crew, I'd like to welcome you to Seabase Alpha. I hope your descent from the surface was enjoyable. Right now, on final approach to the visitor center, your sea cab is passing through part of our beautiful coral reef community.
Commander Fulton, you have a call on line 1.
10-4. We have quite a variety of marine life living within our base of operation, which is the largest of its kind in the world. Down here we see everything from sharks to dolphins, lobsters to pufferfish. You might even spot a moray eel or two lurking beneath the coral. But not to worry, they all get along just fine, even with our divers. Anyway, we'll see you shortly. Enjoy your visit to Seabase Alpha.
Step out to your right. Your vehicle and the moving platform are traveling at equal speed.
Please collect your belongings and step out to your right. The moving platform is traveling at the same speed as your vehicle.
Please gather your belongings and step out to your right. Your vehicle and the moving platform are traveling at equal speed. And that is the shortest Disney ride in history. Boy, is that thing short. Now, for the first time, welcome to Seabase Alpha. Step out to your right. So when Spencer sent this over to me in February of this year, I want to say, I couldn't
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was right around there because I was still working on finishing up World of Motion at that point. And I was just like, this, even in Blender, where we didn't have like all the lighting or all of that in there ready to go, it was like, this is gorgeous. So I'm just going to sit here and let us kind of chat through. So maybe Spence, I'll start with you, and then I realized that I haven't let 404 and Shaw kind of say their bits as well, so I really want to make sure we get their input on this. But do you just want to, I don't even know how to steer this, do you want to just talk about Seabase Alpha, how you created it, what your thoughts are around it, because it's beautiful. It looks incredible.
Gosh, thanks. I don't know, man. There's a lot going on. Coming from someone who hadn't modeled anything, and please folks realize that I am new relatively to 3D modeling. I started right at the pandemic around September of 2020 trying to model one of the doors of the hydrolator. And then, gosh, 4 years later, I'm looking at this, realizing I'm kind of having imposter syndrome. It looks like somebody else did this. And in truth, someone else did do this. The Imagineers that took, Tim Delaney and everyone else that designed and put this all together, we're literally standing on their shoulders, being able to present this in a way, hopefully, that will preserve the spirit of what they want to do. And that's my whole thing. Is I have friends that are too young to have ever experienced this the way it was before. They've only seen the version that's painted over blue everywhere. But it really was something amazing when you stepped out of those sea cabs into the pavilion. It felt like you were in a place where research was happening, where an adventure was going to happen, where there's a little yellow robot over in this corner. There's, exhibits of movies going on over here, wave tanks. I can see, dolphins and or manatee, depending on, when it was. Yes, which era. And that dive tube with bubbles, there's a guy in there. It's crazy. And just being able to see and feel that, and then you step in, you get this look up at the ceiling, just incredibly detailed. That was daunting. That was one of the first things I knocked out, and then I realized, you know what, I may actually have a stab at getting this done. Those ceiling decorations with the great water, they call them the water reflections, the caustic effects, are great. One of the only big things I know, Sean did a lot. The rover, the deep rover itself, was another Ryan Trumbull creation. Looking great there.
Looks great.
Yeah, getting all the signage, the typefaces. We had help from Joshua with all that, nailing down the right typefaces. One thing we don't have is that little remote control camera that was in that hole. I have the hole modeled, but no camera to go in there yet, just because I'm not sure what it looks like.
It looks like a cylinder, like a subsea camera.
Yeah, with some weird stripes around it. Sean and the team did a great research on getting the wave tank in there, which was taken out, I think, close to the same time the sponsorship ended. Lots of great stuff in here. Guys, I'm going to stop for a second just because I'm kind of, overwhelmed myself. You have anything to add?
I could just talk a bit about how it is researching this place. So this is the living seas, and you have the main aquarium. So when you see family videos, what you'll see the most of is people looking at the fish. And so that does result in you should turn around and look at the ceiling.
Yes,
but it's
please.
Mostly just
I need those
fish.
numbers.
Exactly. So something I heard, and it's quite the apt metaphor, is that this is like Communicore, but with a huge distraction, and that distraction is the tank. So if you want to see what was in the modules, you just have to hope someone was recording the modules instead of the fish.
And there's also fish in the modules, so people focus on those too.
That is actually a whole nother story, but that's for 1A. We'll get to that.
Oh, yes.
So I figured, why don't we head there first? Because I feel, in so many ways, 404 has been leading the charge. So let's just set the table in where we are. There are 6 modules total. Looks like there are 8. There are only 6 because 2, Delta and Charlie, are not actually present. But we have 1A, 1A, and then 2A over there. Why don't we get started with 1A? Now, what I will say is that there is... I don't know if anyone who, I guess, didn't work there truly understands how much stuff there was inside of Seabase Alpha. It is insane how much stuff there was. We did our best to recreate what we could. There are going to be signs. There are plenty of information signs, as we see. Leaning more to the center of the screen, should be on camera right now. Where we don't have any actual research. So we're trying to fill that in. Yeah. There are others where either I ran out of time or patience in building, but it means that, 404, do you want to talk a little bit about the installations that were in 1A, because you're the world's preeminent expert?
Oh yeah, so this was ocean ecosystems, and whenever you see people talk about this module, they just give a couple examples, but they're not very descriptive about all of the tanks and where they were positioned. Something that really helped is the ceiling plans. You can actually see something specifying where the tanks would be. So there's 5 of them, and throughout newspaper reviews and even the last piece of the puzzle was a Usenet archive that talked a bit more in depth about what was in here. And so we were able to figure out the layout. So it's the phytoplankton, it's the zooplankton. After that, it's the filter feeders. So that's like a chain of the food, a link of the food chain. And then to the left is a camouflage tank where there were stonefish. And the last one would be the symbiosis tank, which would have white anemones and clownfish. That was quite recent because when you look at videos, you just see one of the tanks. You don't really get to see the whole room, so it is very confusing. But now we have this base of what was there, and it's going to be a lot easier to piece together whatever's missing.
Exactly. So there's so much here, and I believe to a certain extent this changed over the years. There was an entire tank above us in 2 Alpha that just appeared at some point. I'm not exactly sure when, but you can see that there's just so much here. And in 2002, I believe I have that right, they actually just replaced this 2-floor amazing central tank with, and this is not the first time we're going to say this, nothing. They just had it, and they're like, we don't want this anymore. Which is correct.
Yeah, this was
R.I.P. Kelp Tank.
This was Pacific Coast kelp, and at one point they just covered it up with a sign saying caution high pressure, and then just removed it altogether. Another thing in 1A that did change, but only in the 90s, was the Predator tank. It changed to be just Caribbean Reef fish, but during the 80s it was the Predator tank.
And I need to remodel the sign and a little bit of this area that was a little bit sketched in, so some stuff we need to do there. We have the Pacific Coral Lagoon. Again, a lot of these kind of still need stuff inside of it, but you can get a good feel for what they would have looked like at that point.
The Predator in the tank is the one from the movie, that's why you can't see it.
Exactly, so we're still trying to get the rights to it too, so, you know.
Just kidding, folks.
Yeah, it's
official tie-in.
So the Predator, the Pacific Coral Lagoon tank itself is still somewhat intact. It's been split in half. There were 2 panels that opened, and actually we have the background of that a little off. Just some recent research showed in the center there were 2 doors that opened up to allow backstage access, and those photos you see in the center were actually on left and right. Those panels that have opened up have now actually become full-size doors, and that's where the entrance to the Turtle Talk attraction is. And the Turtle Talk attraction is in the original theater, where you would see one of the Seas movies behind that through a short hallway. So parts of that tank are still there. They've replaced the tall front portions with glass, and there's just a split down the middle. But that is still parts of the original tank.
Exactly. So you can definitely see huge differences. Sorry, 404, go for it.
Yeah, since we're in 1A, this is the best module to talk about text and signs. These tanks all had information around them, and there is a problem with that, in which even with the VHS camcorder footage we have, even if they zoom into the text, it is still quite blurry. So the best hope we have for accurate text for these tanks and many others around the Seabase is photos. So if you know anybody that has photos, hit us up.
Please.
Please.
We need them.
Discord.futureport82. Yeah, Discord.futureport82.com is probably the best way. You can also hit me or Spencer up on Twitter, and we will be more than happy to, use whatever you have, because I had to kind of make up a bit of this text. Some of it is legible, but it's definitely not where we would want. Spence arduously recreated down to the, every little bit, the floors. I also just wanted to shout out from the reddish orange red carpet to the cutouts to the kind of lawn plate in the middle. So much work was put into that.
Also, the signs on those decorative module doors are now covered up just by a solid piece of ply something. If you turn back around to the hard left, you can see the 1A sign.
Yep.
Those are mirrored on both sides. It was tough. Again, that's an item that we have an idea roughly how big it is and lots of photos, but no real gauge. So that's as made up as we can get it, trying to look as best as it can.
It does look
And it's
great.
it's meant to be able to seem like in some type of emergency that they can be closed and locked together. That's kind of the idea. And I think at one point we were going to, before we actually found that we could finish those modules, close off some of those doors, but worked out where we didn't have to.
And also they're way too short, just geometrically. You know, even in even in story, there's no way that was going to work, which I found very funny. But yes, they are meant to close. We're going to skip 1D for right now for a very good reason. Why don't we head over to the Lockout tanks? Spence, not sure if you, or 404, or anyone, anything to say around this? Looks great. This is all you.
Lockout tank. Oh gosh, there was someone that I believe helped one person. I can't remember. I was supposed to credit them. I feel so bad. That did a LiDAR scan of the tank.
Right.
And then another person. Do you remember the guy that's working on Tower of Terror's team?
Brian Trular.
Yeah, he actually gave us our initial model for the bottom of the Lockout. So I was having trouble with it because, again, I had no reference for it besides photos and a little bit of a LiDAR. But he got that bottom part going, and I ended up building the top up. We don't have a control panel finished yet, but we are working on all this. Again, we wanted to get something visitable. There are going to be emissions, there are going to be errors, but we know they're all there. Like, we know some of the numbers may not be right on some of the columns. That was a full panel with a phone. It had a part that lifted up. There was usually a clipboard parked behind it. But we do have the entrance on the back a little bit modeled, and it's one of the few times you can actually see that will be in this. There's also a little bit of design that I believe is finished, but we were unable to get into the model on time on the side of the lockout chamber there.
Exactly. And while we're here, I'm just...
Yeah, you may notice there's something missing from the lockout chamber, and that is the railing. That was actually not in there when it opened. It was added between July and November of the first year of operation.
Yep, so we now have a future choice. Exactly. So future choice option where you can activate that and see it's this. And also when we go into 1D around the gym suit, you can see that there will now be, let's see this here. You can see, not quite. I can't quite get over there without triggering it, but we'll take a look at that in a little bit, the triggerable fence. Let's head into 1 Charlie, which I can't remember what these are. 1 Charlie is undersea exploration, and take a little bit of a look at what we have in here. So while it's not currently interactable, we do have the, what is it, the bathymetry map, I think it is? So the bathymetry map of the Earth's undersea land. I should know better about terms for that. It's fine. Anyway, this should, normally you'd be able to interact with this and actually have it light up. Haven't quite had that live yet, but I think that does look pretty nifty. Now, what we were talking...
Cool.
It does look very cool. When we talk about how we want high quality sign stuff, this is one where we actually do have it available because we had actual text. I didn't have to come up with what they said about exclusive economic zones, which is not exactly my forte. But here we have actual text, and it makes more sense when it's not me just coming up with something out of nothing. So that's what we're trying to have for everything. You know, I was talking with, I don't know if I ever even shared this with the team. I was talking with Martin Smith, historian extraordinaire, and he's like,
Martin.
The good old Martin, there was enough to do in the living seas to occupy you for an entire day. Watching the video, reading the text, actually just exploring, not even just counting, eating and vibing with the fish. There is so much that you can do to actually take up a full day, and it's that what we're trying to recreate. We just need a little bit more actual research, so again, if you have any, do let us know. Let's walk over to Atlas. One of the source videos I got from an anonymous source. I'm not really sure where it came from, but we do thank them very, very much. Probably won't watch that right now. I feel definitely recommend take a look. Sorry.
Quickly,
Cover it.
a deeper source on that, the animation in Animated Atlas of the World was actually provided by Andreas Deja, master Disney animator, Disney legend, friend of mine, oddly enough. He actually showed me some of the original cells from that he has.
Nice.
He did that before he did King Triton or Hercules, but you see where he kind of has this, I guess, a forte for doing those type of characters. He's able to animate, I guess, more muscular looking characters, but of course also cute characters like Lilo. So that was one of his first full things that he did at the animation studio. So that was really neat to have him to talk about that from beginning to end. But yeah, if you ever have a chance, it is in excellent quality. You're able to sit down and watch the whole thing with great audio because it is from a Laserdisc source.
Exactly. It is source. It is wonderful. Speaking of sources, I wish we had the various interactable Seabase challenges and some of the other screens. Unfortunately, we do not have too much around that. Would be nice to have. Now, we were talking about the Star Tours panel, which is what I'm going to refer to them as because they were later used there. We talk about some of these panels, and you'll see when you're actually in not Seabase anymore, whatever it's called. I think it's just plain Seabase now, is that in so many ways, Disney just removed them and replaced them with nothing. So you can actually see the eyeball lights up above, and they're lighting up a blank blue wall. So next time you're there, just kind of think about what was taken out and often replaced with
Sean, the
nothing.
one you can see right there
Yes.
is actually still there.
That is
painted
one.
blue.
Painted blue, yeah. When it's there, they
That one
actually
there.
painted blue. The rest of them...
Yeah, they're just missing. But in 1C, that one there is present, and I think a few over the other on the opposite side.
Every once in a while, you will see one. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so that's something you've mentioned, like you could take up a whole day. That was actually a criticism in the newspapers back then. It was like, oh, it's too big. There's too much to do.
Imagine that happening with one of the current, 45-second rides. Just like, there's just there's too much to see and do for my money.
I'm far too entertained.
I know.
No.
This is a bummer. What are we
Yeah.
gonna do? We have the wait.
Exactly.
Mom, Dad, I'm not bored.
Yep. Yeah, the wave tank was a bit hard to get right, but there's still the 5 panels on each side. We do not have good pictures of that yet, so that's another one to look out for.
Yes, definitely nice
Hard
to
to
have.
find photos of that thing.
Very much. I would also like to get the actual waves moving, but that was beyond my ability/patience for this release. We'll see what happens. So, 404, Spence, not sure who among you is the best to talk about when. So, you may be far more accustomed to our Manatee buddies, who is Little Joe, and I can never remember.
Lil Joe, Lil, and Lou.
Yes.
They are precious, and
Yes.
I love them.
We absolutely
and
love them.
I would love to be able to just feed them, romaine lettuce all
Romaine
day
lettuce all day. But these, as you can tell, if you're really, really on it, these are dolphins. So the dolphins are what they actually started with. 404, Spence, not sure if you want to talk a little bit about the switch.
long. I'll let 404 take the dolphins.
So originally it was just dolphins. It was the Mammal Research Center, and they insisted that they were not like SeaWorld. This was purely research. But there was still that element of, have a show to perform. And there is video of that with them playing with the dolphins and such. But the dolphins didn't last too long because there were 5 of them, and because of an aggressive one, 2 of them died. So in June 7, '88, they welcomed in the manatees, and it became a manatee rescue tank, pretty much.
We love
Excellent.
them so much.
And they've been incredibly popular ever since. They are lovely. It's fun to just go in and kind of hang out. In my trip in February, it's funny because I knew I was about to really start working on this when I was there, but I even only spent like 20 minutes in Seabase because it's just like, this isn't all that interesting. So 18 of that was spent staring at the manatees because I love them. And otherwise, that was kind of about it. But yeah, we have our
Take a quick
dolphins
look.
here. Yep.
And don't forget the dolphin keyboard is something actually that was
Yes.
modeled not by me, and as part of the team, we were trying to figure out what this thing was. These odd pieces that were in the tank. Some we could tell were in the main tank. This is the dolphin keyboard, and if you guys want to talk more about that really quick.
Yeah, so the Dolphin keyboard was actually part of a program they had to try and develop Dolphin communication, but they were very reserved about it. It's like, no, we are not teaching them human speech. It's just a different kind of language. So each of the holes had a 3D object, and the dolphins could identify them and poke their noses in. There was a sensor, and so that was actually used in the main observation deck during the show, where it would have a voice type out what the dolphins were saying. So it's like a piece of shrimp on the left corner of the tank or something like that. Yeah, it was actually fun to watch that. There are some videos of it, so
I want to
it
check
is
those out.
interesting.
Yeah, because I've gotten TTS to work for the I am seen from Communicore, so I should be able to actually get that working, and I think that'd be a fun thing to have. So, next release.
Oh.
That would be fun. All right, so as you may, so I have it on like cinematic mode, and I am streaming in 2K. Performance right now isn't necessarily amazing, not helped by streaming, so it may seem a little slow when I look at the tank, but we are just going to go over it. That is actually, yeah, the streaming is taking quite a bite out of that. Let's head over to 2B, which is going to be directly above, and I want to just start by looking at what is in the back wall. So the back wall around this, as you can see, it has kind of the stripe to match what we have in some of the other stripes in the rest of Seabase Alpha. But this actually went through 3 life cycles. We have 2 of them currently represented. I'm going to go to my Future Choice kiosk, and unfortunately, it may be a little hard to see the manatees because I kind of just have them hanging out down there. We'll see if I can get a peek at them. You may be able to see a little bit of them down there. Of course, we do have the lettuce up here hanging out ready for them. I think you can see a manatee. There we go. There's our little manatee buddy. But for what's important here, you can see that the actual design of the back walls has changed. We had a few blurry still images that I used to recreate, but you can definitely see that we tried to give a different feel before they added like the signage, the more 90s manatee style you can see in some of the old videos. So if it looks a little different, there's a reason this was accurate for this time period around 88. But yeah.
Yeah.
Manatees are
I
chilling.
actually did enjoy animating the manatees
Yes.
for the tank.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Shaw. All right, we're going to hop over. We're going to take a little bit of a stop over at just to see Trumbull's deep sea rover, because that does look quite nice.
And it's crazy, as much as we've stared photos of this pavilion, or I have for the past 4 years, I've just noticed there are information panels on both of those ledges, the railings right by the rover itself. But this is a fantastic recreation. It's actually based on a real deep rover. So I think Trumbull went to the Jackson Hole, the society there. They're actually some of the ones that do the submersibles, the Jason submersibles, but got some of the plans and photos, so got a really good recreation of this.
Woods Hole, because that's in Massachusetts, I think.
That's the one. My apologies.
I'm just a proud masshole.
Hey,
yeah.
No problem.
All right. So
okay, sorry.
No, all good. No, it looks great. The deep rover looks absolutely great. Let's wander over to 2A. Again, this is another area where we could definitely flesh out a little bit.
Yeah, that's another rabbit hole, because that is the mariculture lab.
Yes.
And the way
AKA
it's
the nursery.
operated. Yep. So It was headed by the Harvard Branch Foundation, and the way it worked is that they received new eggs for the specimens. They had several, like rays, lobsters, and they did show the growth stages of them. And once they were big enough, they would pack them up and send them back. So it was just pretty much showing the stages to people that were. It was constantly changing the animals that were on display, and yeah, it was a very complex area, and more research is needed.
Definitely,
Pretty much.
definitely. Some more
Exactly,
we can add.
yeah.
Yeah. We have some angelfish currently hanging out in the kelp tank, though. They're having a grand old time.
Yes. Those double doors you see with the rope across actually are entrances into those bridges to the closed off modules on the top. So
Exactly.
they were there was a way to get in there, just, not for mere mortals.
Exactly, not for the public. So now you can see we have skipped one module right now. What I'm going to do is just wander over and let's just take a look out the tank. Now this is an area where we're probably between this release and the next one going to end up kind of tearing this down to brass tacks and just trying to not rebuild but just re-import, because it's performance-wise it's running slower than we really feel that it should, but we really wanted to just kind of have that feel of the movement and just the kineticism that was really available in here. Now I really would like to kick over to 404 because I feel you're the expert in what fish, and more importantly how many fish were really inside the tank at any given point.
So that is a question that during the first year changed a lot. So most sources indicate that, okay, so first off, the fish were from Key West, Florida. They were brought over into tanks to acclimate, and a couple of fishes actually had to be culled because the adult forms would not behave well on a tank, so that's something they had to do. But at the start, before opening, it was around 2,000 to 3,000. When it opened, it was 4,000. And a lot of the newspapers at the time kept saying that, oh, it would double in a few weeks. And I can only imagine that's something the cast members would say. Like, if you think there's very few fish, there's going to be a lot more. And indeed there were, like, around March, like it opened January, and around March it was 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. There were all those figures, and then by October it was at 8,000. Now the number of species, they always clamped them together from the modules and the main tank, but it was around 200. That's the best you can get, and after that it's just people writing the reviews and noting down a couple of specific fish. That's the best way we currently have of figuring out all of the species that were inside. And it wasn't just fish, it was also a couple of props. So we do have a couple of them. We do have an air bubble. There was one from Canada, which we have modeled, and another one from the US Navy. That one still needs a bit more
Oceaneering?
research. No, the oceaneering
the
one
one from
was the
Oceaneering?
dive bell. And then there's also
Oh,
this
yeah.
little one. We saw it on promotional materials before it opened, and even in a video they made for the Living Sea special that aired on NBC, I believe. Yeah, there was
Yes,
a
with John
small.
Ritter.
Yeah, there was a small Seabase Alpha toy sub. It was blue. It had a half dome, and for the longest time I thought, okay, this is probably a prop for the theming. It was a bit too childish, so they never installed it. But no, they did. I found a video from early '96 that had it inside of the tank, so it was used. We just don't know for how long it was.
Our beloved Alfred is on screen.
Yes.
Oh, Alfred.
We've named him Alfred because we didn't know what the heck else to call this thing. So, something nice and memorable. He's hanging out.
I'm surprised how fast it was able to model. I think I got that done in less than an hour.
It
was fantastic.
Yeah, and it adds a lot. It's great to just have it kind of there. I'm not sure if the location is particularly accurate, but hey, it looks good, and that's what's important.
That is something that I've seen.
Times.
Yeah, the props around the tank, I think, moved a couple times.
Yeah, exactly. So
and
it could be
that's
really anything.
something I have to map out and see when they changed and to where.
Also,
Yeah.
I think it was either 404 or Spence pointed out the oceaneering on it. It was
Yes,
a great detail because I didn't have it.
Oceaneering is an organization actually close to me here in Texas, on the Gulf Coast, that does this type of thing. So maybe if anyone knows anyone in oceaneering, some info would be great. We are always on the lookout, guys, for photos, any information you may have, any video that you haven't shared to YouTube that we could use to help make this place more complete and more fleshed out. We always could use something like that.
Absolutely.
Those fun little we'll see on the way back out, but the sound deadeners in that hallway, those orange weird looking tubes, those have been replaced by some flat blue sound deadeners, but I really think those look neat. They add kind of look like to the nautical. They almost look like they could be buoyant if something
Oh yeah.
needed to be done.
Exactly. It's just
Yeah,
it's wonderfully sciencey.
Yes.
All right, so we're in the observation deck in the middle of what at the time was the largest saltwater tank in the world up until, as we saw in the chat, the early 2000s. And yeah, it looks beautiful. A lot of this is very similar to what you have today, but it looks great. You know, I don't even know what else to really say about this. It's great to have the kineticism. It's great to have just the feel, and you can see some of the information signs that we do have available on each of the columns as you loop around the observation.
There are we're also monitors in this area showing some videos, and I think we might either soon or currently have Joshua working on reproducing some of that interstitial video with the Seas logo and a wave background. But
Excellent.
yes, that
Thing that they used for their shows where they piloted rovers around the tank and people could watch it on the screens.
Those are fun. That center column actually leads up to the top of the tank where the divers all kind of go. I was lucky enough, I was wearing a Seabase Alpha shirt to the Seas with Nemo and Friends, and one of the divers spotted me through a window. It was odd, like I didn't think they could make it out, but he's like pointing at the shirt and like I was like, yeah, it's like, where'd you get it? You know, waving his hand, and I was like, I gestured, I made it. So he got one of the attendants, and I'm sure you've seen them around, you know, kind of cleaning the bottom of the glass and making sure it all looks good, to grab me and my friend Wesley and his now wife Sage to be able to visit the top of the tank. And that was an experience. I, obviously couldn't take any photos, but it is neat. It made me really want to do Dive Quest or Dolphins in Depth, one of the two. Yeah, this place is neat. So much going on.
Also, I just want to say we are joined by the other than Unreal Engine, the #1 thing on Earth that hurt me, successfully us getting this project out, who is my cat Caster, who likes to stand in front of my screen and block me and whack my mouse, but he is joined, so Caster says hi. So yeah,
hey,
observation deck. He's a good boy sometimes. He is in the credits to be thanked for his lack of assistance.
Yeah.
Anything else on the observation deck before we go down to my baby in 1D?
No, I just want to say you did. Yes.
Not really. Like, there was one thing I wanted to mention in 1C, which was the mystery tank, which we couldn't figure out what was inside of, but I think we have, because every time we looked at footage, it was just empty. It was just water, and it's like, what was inside of it? But it was the anatomy of the sea,
Yes.
and apparently
that's right.
that's a demonstration of water stratification. So what that means is the different temperatures of the water. Like, the deeper you go, the colder it gets, and you can do something with different temperatures of water where you can add a dye to them, and it becomes visible. And from a couple of the photos, it looks like it. So we have it modeled to kind of represent that. It's just different temperatures of water, we're pretty sure.
And
right,
now,
I saw that. Look at how you two were going at it.
so Other than the People Mover, which is my favorite ride, we have to get for what is tied in the second best ride in all of Futureport.
Good
Good old
narrow escalator.
The extremely narrow Otis brand escalator. Good stuff. You gotta love it. Here we go. All
I want
right.
to take a quick talk about, if you guys don't know, those seemingly random numbers and letters that you see all over the top of the columns
Let me go find some.
are the first and last initials of Imagineers that worked on the Pavilion, as well as those numbers representing their dates of birth.
So we see a little bit of, can't see it at this angle, Tango Delta, I think. Yeah, so Tango Delta, we have Alpha, or KM.
Yep, the Tango Delta is
Tim Delaney.
for Tim Delaney,
Tom,
indeed.
sorry, yeah, Tim, okay. KM, yeah.
Don't remember. I have to look up all these names, but these are the Imagineers that worked. And actually, that second column should be different.
We can, yeah.
Number. We can fix that later. Yeah, again, just mentally, guys, I look and see all the things that need to be fixed and added onto, but
exactly.
It really just does look magnificent.
Yeah.
You can see the anatomy of the seas in screenshot. Yeah.
Some of those signage, like once we were done looking at that, the panels on the top empty modules were added no more than 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was last night. Yeah, that's right. Spence added it 2 or 3 days ago. I added it last night, so we're talking last minute. All the
very last minute. The little lights up there too, which Sean made blink magically. They look great, and there's still more to come.
Those were actually Perco lights, which are actual marine equipment, so very on theme.
I almost modeled the word Perco into them, but I figured that would be overkill. You can actually see it. I have a very zoomed in picture from the top of the tank, which the lights are still there from the top of the dive tank. I zoomed in, I had a great Nikon and was able to get a great close up, and I saw the word Perco. I was able to make that out. But yeah, you can still purchase those lights. They are actual nautical lights.
So now we're going to go into what has been, without a doubt, the thing, even more than the sea cabs, that caused me a fair bit of headache, but what caused me more headache than anything else, but it was worth it, and it was a true team effort from really all of us pitching in. We're going to go hang out with Jason, who I don't think gets anywhere near the credit that he should. We're going to kind of just let his show roll for a little bit, and then we'll talk through a little bit more of the development process, but welcome to what is, along with, in my mind, the Hydrolators and the UT pre-show from E82. Absolutely one of the highlights. Hope you enjoy.
Jason, that's who I be. A remote-controlled submersible robot built to explore the world of the deep ocean. Say, before I take the plunge, why don't you look at those TV screens and I'll tell you more about me. Shiver me diodes. Scientists have been studying the ocean floor from inside deep-sea submersibles. Like that one. You can see they're pretty cramped. And they don't offer much of a view. And since the ocean covers more than 2/3 of the planet, it's no wonder humans have only seen small areas of the seafloor so far. Well, in order to learn more and more, scientists are now turning to robots like me for help. I'll show you what I can do. You see, I'll be operated from a ship on the surface by a scientist in a specially equipped video control room. No video games. Why, with a flip of the switch from him, and it's lights, camera, action! Shiver me timbers! And when I get down to business, I'll get down to 20,000 feet. Well, at that depth, if the water was to get a few degrees colder, any fish in the area would be scientists in those submersibles that have to come up all the time for supplies and oxygen? I can stay down for weeks on end. What's to do down there for that long? My built-in TV cameras will help scientists study deep water life forms, as well as let them get a look at strange and remote sea creatures. Ooh. And while I keep a safe distance, my cameras will zoom in for the closest look yet at volcanic vents, where the water is hot enough to melt land. Oh, scientists will also use my hands to pick up information about C4 minerals. Make sure to wash after. Now, aside from charting natural history, I'll explore human history. Because the deep ocean is very cold, it saved all kinds of sunken vessels, mateys. And only a few have been explored so far. Aye, but by using me propellers. I'll be going for an inside look at ships that lie even deeper. Now, I'm not going to do all of this just so one or two scientists can watch it on some TV screen. No, people the world over will share in what I'm doing, because my telecast will be shown live via satellite to research stations all over the world, as well as here at Epcot Center. Needless to say, the future looks great for robots like me, and I, for one, can't wait to dive into my work. Who knows? The depths may hold many wonders yet to be discovered. Why, I might be the one to show the world something very unusual. Thanks for stopping by. See you again, mateys. Shiver me diodes. Plug me in to some 220.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Jason, because this was a bit of an effort. So as we can see, hopefully it won't trigger again. I think it's just going to hang out here for a little bit. That's good. So let's just talk about the bits. First off, Spencer came up with the initial model. I kind of built off of it, and there are so many different parts that were programmed. So there's, of course, the equalizer for the voice, which is the red blob in the middle.
That is an accomplishment, Sean. Don't glaze over that. That is really cool.
Shout out to YouTube videos. Amazing what you can find in YouTube tutorials on how to do stuff. I was so happy to get that working because I didn't think I could, and I was so happy.
And just to point out in chat, the voice of Jason is Ethan Phillips of Star Trek Voyager fame that played the character Neelix. This is confirmed. For those of you saying it's Frank Welker, we can hear Frank Welker on the video on the other side of the room.
Jim, not Jason.
What did I say? Jason?
No, you're right. Jim? Sorry, but no, across the room is Jim. This is Jason. Yeah.
The Jim suits is Frank Welker. Exactly. Jason's voice is Ethan Phillips.
So with Jason, we have the lights that turn on and off. We have the EQ'd or the frequency analyzer mouth red. We have the upper arm. We have the middle arm. We have the forearm. We have the pincers. We have the propellers. The pincers and propellers have their own sound effect that goes with every time they trigger. That's why you hear each of those noises. The lights will go on and off. Those are accurate to what was actually in a recording in the Retro WDW Restored from 1992. That's what I used as the basis of that. The vertical for all of Jason, that is also pulled directly from that video and should be basically frame accurate to what was there. It is matched the audio. We have a BGM, background music track. We have the video. We have the narration track. It all kind of melts together. It's very easily broken. That's why we don't play with it too much. But yeah, there was a lot of work because fundamentally, just like we said with the YouTube pre-show at the beginning, it's this Keep Epcot Weird stuff that is a huge part of why this project is so important. There is more charm in the Jason post-show than in so much of what has been built across all of Disney World in the last 30 years. It's remarkable. It's amazing. I love Jason.
Eat your heart out, seagulls on the rock out front.
Exactly. Like, that is just kind of a rip from a movie. This is a potentially slightly losing his mind undersea robot who thinks he might be a pirate. I mean, what could possibly be better than that?
Jason of the Deep. Jason rovers are a real thing. They don't look very much like this, except for the fact that some of them are yellow. But they are also by that same group. You can look up the Jason rovers and their different deals. They are controlled by a ship, like just like the video says. And this one was just made much cuter and more approachable for, you know, the Epcot audience. But we miss him. I wonder, well, some people wonder where animatronics are too much, but I wonder what happened to Jason.
I do wonder where he is, because he's cute. I think he would look great with Castor sleeping on him.
Haha.
I love Jason. I
Yeah.
think it's fantastic. Sorry, go for it. Yeah, just great. And what's amazing is, because I put so much work in Jason, to me, this was going to be the actual interactive, which at this point, I have to admit, it is not interactive now. They're just static, and you can just kind of look at them. I thought that even having the static gym suits were going to be by far the highlight of this, but then I got, you know, fully Jason pilled, and we worked on that, but I can't, you know, I posted to Twitter a while ago. There was a photo of Dad and I when on my like trip in 1989 when I was, let's just say, younger than now, and you know, in here and just actually doing this. So it's just such a key core memory of my life. And you know, these gym suits, so key. They are amazing. So love it.
I agree with chat. I'm putting Jason pilled into my vernacular.
Fully Jason pilled, because like, why wouldn't you be? It's amazing.
Of course. Yep.
God, I love Jason. So yeah, you have the gym
Jason
suit.
pill is yellow.
I would love to get these interactive. I need to get the right movement right, but just to have the world's most awkward controls, because if you know, you know, moving, you're just like swinging a little. For those who didn't actually experience this, you would have to like rotate the wheel, and it would go from green to red when you get it. And there's like a zigzag thing you have to do where you have to grab onto a little post, and you have to move that up and down. You're like, any idiot can do this, and you go in, and it's like you're moving in molasses. Your hands have no control over what's happening. It is insane. They really do need to bring these back, because it was wonderful. Such a great core memory. Good stuff. Yeah.
Again, some of those rear panels, again, just the things I think about, because, you know, we had to research them with the little holes in them. Some of those panels are still in that room. That is now the Bruce the Shark playroom. But you can still see over near the interactive panels of over side.
Nope.
Some of those are still in existence.
Yes.
And that interesting ceiling feature above Jason itself is in existence as well too. They just have the shark with the hook in his nose. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, exactly. So you can still kind of see that curved ceiling over there. I'm not going to wander too. Actually, we can go over here. So one unfortunate part of the difficulty in programming Jason is basically there's this concept called sound attenuation in Unreal, which says that audio can only travel so far. Jason, for whatever reason and how I programmed it, the attenuation is totally busted. So it means that if you do come in here, I'm going to recommend that you go to Jason first, and then hopefully as I go over, now we can listen to Jim. Otherwise the audio is going to overlap a little bit. I couldn't fix it. I definitely recommend doing Jason and then hang out with Frank Welker and Jim over here. Love it. All right. So just to keep this rolling, anyone else have anything they want to add around Seabase Alpha before we do wander into the other big part of the seas?
Yeah. There's one last thing, and it's actually right at the exit.
Okay, of course. Oh yes. How could I have forgotten? We have the official white whale of 404.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh yeah, it
as
is
it were.
Something else.
So everyone has these little things we get obsessed with, and first off, sorry, I will get to you in just one moment. This is slightly out of time, but I did want to point out we did have the 1987, I believe, civil engineering achievement plaque. That is in there.
Oh yeah, it was a contest, and the winner was actually the restoration of the Statue of Liberty, but the Living Seas was the runner-up, so
who's ever heard of that?
An achievement.
Boo, they were robbed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
what saltwater tank, do they have in that? Absolutely nothing. That's some nonsense.
No.
All right, 404, go. This is your baby.
All right, so looking at that panel, all right, so we have the Living Seas, United Technologies, and they have a couple of their products pretty much showcased. Now, that is something you kind of wonder with this pavilion is why would United Technologies sponsor? Because it is so far off left field of all the others, like Exxon, General Motors, General Electric, Kraft. That's all very consumer facing, but United Technologies was just high technology. But
As a
that's
concept.
kind of what, yeah, Epcot was made to promote just that, so it makes sense thematically, but it is very expensive for being just a sponsor. Now, these are three examples, but this isn't original. This is just an acrylic panel they substituted in '88, because originally what was there was a video wall. It was, let's see, which one was it? Yeah, it was 5 tall, 7 across CRT screens, 35 in total. It was made by Electrosonic, and it was actually very new at the time. They had made a prototype for Expo 85, but then for the Seas, it was the first quote-unquote permanent exhibition, and they do this. You go to their website and look at their timelines, and they refer to it as a prototype because it was each of the screens was a laser disc. They were all synchronized and they played the video. Now I did find half of a press release by United Technologies, and they described it as the final high technology attraction for visitors, a mural in motion. And it was a showcase of everything that United Technologies did, like the departments. And another fact about it is that it took 15 months to film. The duration was 2 minutes 45, and we did find a video of it, but only a minute and 52, and it's missing the middle part. So what exactly did it have? It had showcases for Sikorsky helicopters in New York City, the Pratt& and Whitney engines in Singapore Airlines, in Boeing, and also another one of the segments was the Otis elevators, and it was filmed in France because Otis are the elevators in the Eiffel Tower, and they do show that. And the middle is missing, and at the end was just space equipment like NASA and such. So that was their main way of showcasing to people what United Technologies was. Now, since this was a prototype video wall, it had a bunch of problems. The video we have shows that the Laserdisc started skipping and they reset, so the wall didn't look that great in '88, so it lasted a little over 2 years and got replaced by just this acrylic panel. So the chances of us finding the original video for this are very slim because it's 35 Laserdiscs. But one can dream.
Wow.
At least we can try and find recordings of the full show, piece it together, and try and make a recreation, but it is going to be a lot of work even with that in mind. So and it also had a soundtrack. You can hear the music in it, so that's a Lost Epcot video with Lost Epcot music pretty much.
Which is pretty incredible. In so many ways, it reminds me of like the Radox screens from Universe of Energy, where it's just like, here's technology we've barely ever tried before. Let's put it in front of 50 million people a year or whatever. It's absolutely just incredible how they would just shoot their shot. I definitely agree. It would be nice to be able to just get this across. Though they're just lost a little bit of OG Epcot. All right.
Yeah.
I put together this graphic, not having near the research skills of 404, who was just speaking. I kind of got something in the spirit of the originals. He actually sourced out the exact photo that was on the second version that's kind of displayed there of the Blackbird and the picture of the moving platform in O'Hare Airport. We're still looking for that first photo.
Oh yeah. The one of O'Hare is actually in a July 1988 edition of Architectural Record. It is part of an ad campaign they made, but The issue that is scanned is cutting out a lot on the middle, so if anybody has that magazine, Architectural Record, July 1988, pages 60, no, 76, 77, that's where the image is, so if you can scan it, we would greatly appreciate
Would
it.
love it.
You guys, I love having a community of people that are so weird and freaks about this stuff as I am. You guys make me feel like I'm not alone in the world whenever I say I need to reproduce this down to the exact detail, and you guys are like, me too. It's so great. Quick
Let's
story about
go.
the Living Seas exit to Epcot Center signs. The ones I had good photos of, and again, thanks to Martin, were post Epcot Center name change and the sponsorship. So they only said Living Seas exit to Epcot, and I kind of took the idea of the way the rest of the signs looked. I actually found a photo of the correct ones, and they were almost exactly what I had reproduced. So pretty proud of that.
Very nice. And also, I just
And
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, love that red and blue lighting together. Just makes such a neat accent right at the exit.
Yeah, the cool purple. I just want to answer Buster. Yes, that's the SR-71 Blackbird from the 60s, from the Skunk Works at Area 51. So yes, that definitely would have predated the 1988 installation of that panel. I'm a fan of that Blackbird. Let's get into the Hydrolator. Before we get in, I just want to talk about a few little details. Number one, we get the feeling they kind of ran out of budget a little bit here. That's why they don't have the moving rock wall. They don't have the bubbles. They just replace those windows with kind of flat panels. But let's experience. So we're just going to kind of let this roll. I will mute and let's experience the return back up to the surface. That was a little weird, but we're all good. Okay.
Thank you for visiting Seabase
Ah, okay. A little bit of a bug there we could work through. I think I just walked in too slow.
Always something for you to discover. Here at Seabase Alpha.
Exactly how it should be. That's my bad. We can do a review on that. Anyway, this is now going to take you up to the main level. And we are back after our journey below. But we are not yet done. Of course, we do have a fourth member who we haven't have quite enough chance to speak to. So now we are going to loop around. Hello, Living Seas. Hello, everything, because we need to talk about the Coral Reef restaurant. We referenced this a little bit earlier, that I had no plans on doing this before Shaw just took it on himself to do it, and I'm glad he did. Let's take a look at the Coral Reef restaurant, starting with the sign out front that does look really pretty. So, Coral Reef restaurant. This sign looks beautiful. Fully modeled in 3D.
From what we can tell, is indeed the original sign that sadly got replaced with a much more simplistic version that you could kind of still see the original base under the new sign that got replaced later on. 4 should technically have the year the sign was replaced right now.
It was actually quite recent. Like, originally, when this is fiberglass with acrylic, the letters originally were layered and it did glow, but over the years the pieces carton started to fall off, so they just repaired it with a single layer of printed acrylic, and after that they just gave up and tore it down. But we have a lot of modern photos of this sign, which is why we were able to do the details justice, because you look at videos from 86 and where you could see the sign, you can't really make out a lot of the details. So we're pretty happy with this recreation here.
Absolutely. It looks fantastic. Very happy. So from
The
here, yeah.
font itself was actually a slight nightmare due to the fact that mesh on that thing is semi-chaotic due to the fact the 3D nature of each layer of the text. This is why it took a bit more time.
Yeah, you kind of see it. You can see that it actually is in full 3D. altogether.
Yeah, and that's not the only sign. There was actually a second, smaller sign in the planter, but we could not really find good pictures of it. We know it remained there at least till 99, so it's just a matter of finding a good picture of it. But then we go to the restaurant, and we have the continuation of the wall patterns, and we also have the wall sign, which is still there, that managed to survive all these years. We are pretty sure.
Yes.
Because that's something else
Yeah.
about this restaurant. It is obscure. It was the fanciest one in Future World, and looking at all of the reviews from the time and even into the 90s, it was booked solid. You had to use the reservation system, otherwise you were not getting into this place. It was a bit more expensive than
Oh
the
yeah,
others, and yeah, the world key.
the world key system, which is pretty much how you were able to reserve your tables. There is
There's
a vague reputation of it on the main counter once we go in there, but that's gonna be shown later.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
Really quick
a
before we
huge
go inside,
problem.
guys,
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to point out I picked the worst pavilion exterior to model. I mean, if you just look at these curves and the way they fit together, I mean,
Yeah.
some of it's still not finished, but just look at that roof. I look at it in person and wonder how they built it. And again, I look at it and I don't even know how I built it, but it's pretty darn accurate.
It is. It is really accurate. It is very complex. This is much better than the version I kind of cobbled together with the waves and everything. And just to, before we kind of continue with Coral Reef, eventually one of the goals is to get the seas circa 1980 up and running, but we don't really have any indication of what the front of that was going to be, although oddly we have a ground plan of what it was going to look like inside. But yeah, so still working through exactly kind of or unbuilding between the 1978 and the 1980 supposedly 4 version of the Living Seas when they did design all of that. So that's a little bit TBD, but yeah, these waves we were added just about 2 or 3 days ago as we just tried to build out the exterior of the restaurant area.
But yeah, something you notice with the restaurant, like even in concept art photos, the general vibe was you come in, you can look at your table, but everything else is darker and you look at the windows. And the very few videos that exist of this restaurant, you cannot see anything pretty much. It is a huge struggle. And most of it we had to go by plans that existed for those areas, the corridor especially, and a bunch of details. We were able to get a couple of better shots of the furniture because a couple of sitcoms were actually filmed in the restaurant. There were 2 of them that made the same joke with the aquarium, so that's funny. But yeah,
That
we can,
one.
we can go inside.
Cool. Let's go in. So yeah, take us through.
Alright.
So,
All right,
just
so this
One.
is the long corridor. It is pretty much all a huge waiting area, and it still kind of is. We could see in the plans the exact layout of the couches, but there is one video of a character meet for Ariel in 95, and we were able to get the second half of the corridor. We don't actually have any pictures or video of the entrance, but the current layout with the 2 doors is original, so we are doing a bunch of educated guesses. But until we have better research, this is the best we could come up with.
We
There was
also assuming
also
the handles
yeah.
on the thing, the seahorses. From what I remember, we are more or less 90% sure those are the original handles.
Which are beautiful. I loved when I saw those when you first sent the model over. And
Yeah,
what
there was
I
also...
really fun
Oh yeah, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, one thing that I personally really love about this is just the texturing, because there's not a lot going on in the hallway. We really wanted to say that there was like the you know, the vinyl on the seat area, and then the more like fabricy back, and then we really wanted to have wall carpet you could reach out and want to touch. And I feel we really nailed that with the effect that, or the texture that Shaw gave, and I augmented a little bit. It just, the textures in this hallway are really what would sell it.
Yeah, there was a huge emphasis on fabric because it was sound dampening.
Yeah.
And there was actually more decorations on the wall. One review specified it was macram fish, which was just a kind of cross-stitching.
Yeah.
And the video we have of it does show the fish and even octopus, but we don't have enough detail for that yet. So
Exactly.
more photos are needed.
I volunteered to make some macrame octopus and fish for the reproduction. We'll
Scan
just
it.
photograph them and put them in there. I'll scan them.
Oh, before that, we
Yeah,
also have
no.
that side corridor. It was only the phones and the restrooms. Also, can you
That's
go
right,
back
we have
to
to
the
show, of course,
corridor?
I forgot the images to the level of detail. Yeah, one sec, how could I forget?
So something fun is that the doors were dark blue, and the crew signs were already dark blue. So in the restaurant, they are teal, which is something that I found quite amusing.
Only ones that we know of that have a different color for the background. But I want you to look at, because this, and I know it'll be a little bit of a delay for everyone else, but I do want to point out, if you look at each of these phones, those were the actual placards for each of these with the accurate extension for each, which is pretty crazy. So each phone has its own unique extension on the little card, which is pretty crazy.
That makes
Alright.
me deeply.
What was this?
Continuing on to the reception area.
Yep.
The reception was actually a lot further in. And right now, the modern redesign, they moved it onto the entrance itself. It's not in that very further in area. But yeah, it was like that. We do have a lot of the detail of what it looked like, and it is modeled on the inside, which is very cool.
Exactly, and Shaw also modeled or recreated rather, an example from like a single laser disc frame, if I recall, of what the World Key actual screen that they used for reservation finding behind the desk, which you can see on the screen now. It does look very nice.
Yeah.
Now,
That
a
looks
detail I
actually
want
really
to point
fun.
out. Yeah, my bad, sorry.
You're fine.
Are we ready to head in? I'm just gonna pause in the entryway.
Just one more
Sure.
Just one more detail. You see that thing on the wall?
Yeah.
We don't exactly know what it is. It looks like a display case, but there is one description of the restaurant because it was renovated in '98. There were talks about it in '96 already, but it was done in '98, and that looks like a display case that was put in there, but there was actually 2 monitors with the menu on it. We do not know where they were placed, so we didn't include them yet.
Alright, let's head into the Coral
Yeah,
Reef.
that's a total mystery.
Here we have it. Here is the main. Now, what I'm going to do is, why don't I just head down to the front row, grab a seat, and then Shaw, you can take us through what we're seeing. Go for it.
Alright, welcome to the Coral Reef, which is pretty much mostly the main helm for this, due to the fact I kind of approached both Spence and Seaton about if there was any blueprints, so I kind of had to recently worked on the modern plans, which were really good for getting like the framework in. But later on, I was actually gracefully given the floor plans, which I quickly started modeling it based off. So every single seat, booth, and table should directly be in the correct location, from the small table to the double wide tables too, based on the few photos we had. For 4 also came in clutch for the corrugated wall, or whatever that bronze steel between the windows are called again. What was
So,
the name?
in between the windows, there was actually a small accent, and it was bonded bronze. Now, finding a good texture for it was really hard because nothing looked exactly like it from the pictures. But then I found this door, and it fit perfectly because it is the actual panel. I think it was by Forms and Surfaces. That's the company that made it, and it's actually a pattern from the 70s. So that's what was used for the bonded bronze pattern on the walls.
And it picks up the
That
light beautifully.
texture came in clutch.
I
Yeah,
want
it
to say
really does.
something.
I really love how you did the lighting on it.
I want to say
Yeah.
something really quick. I saved this. I didn't want to see it at all until the rest of the world did. You guys, I mean, again, the only thing I did was provide blueprints and plans, which were provided again by Joshua Harris coming in clutch, and he got those from another source. But this looks amazing. I am
It looks great.
so impressed. And just to think, right
It
on the
is
other side of that
nice.
window.
Yeah, we definitely spent hours redesigning stuff because we kept on finding new information like from news clippings. Like we had a lot of like promo photos from various magazines for found. This is where we got a lot of the smaller details for the tables, how they were set up, and all that.
I
Exactly.
definitely now know how Sean felt whenever I like said, "Yeah, I'll do the imagination fountain top." Sure.
There's also
Yeah.
the stairs. Like, it's just a dark carpet, but the stairs were colored red and had
Yeah.
lights, so you would see where the steps were. You can see them in 2 of the videos, barely, but they are there, and the lights are still in the steps, actually. But
Oh, yeah.
the new decoration is just full bright, so they are kind of useless. They are just remnants of the original design.
Yeah.
Did you guys do the kitchen too?
Nice.
A little bit, yeah.
No,
A
What?
little bit,
Just the
but
roller
there's
door.
nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, the roller door.
it's
That's
just a
still
staff
impressive.
corridor.
Yeah.
But still,
Like
that's
the
neat.
That's for the kitchen bar. Then there's the other 2 doors that went to the kitchen, and this is pretty much just the staff corridor. But it was open, so we did model it.
I love it.
So I realize that it is now 4 a.m. for our friend in Portugal, and I realize
Oh my
we've been going
goodness.
for about 2 hours. So I may
Wow.
ask for final thoughts.
Wow.
Anything else you want to shout out? I think we've gone through pretty much everything. Coral Reef, Shaw, you did an amazing job. 404, thanks for the assistance. I just want to say, as why don't I actually wander back out to the front? While I'm going, I just want to say thank you so much again for Spence. I know this has really been your heart and soul for years now. I hope this accomplished for phase 1 everything you wanted, because I think it looks really beautiful. So thank you all definitely for Spence, and for everyone out there, thank you so much for showing up and supporting the project. We really do appreciate it. In a couple weeks, we're hoping to announce exactly what we mean by Project Kennel Club. There is plenty more to come after I have a little bit of a break, because I think we all need it a little bit after a rush to get this out the door. Final thoughts from team?
Yeah, just one more call to action. Originally, the Coral Reef restaurant had these placards, like they were wooden with acrylic and a brushed aluminum back that was printed with the design of the restaurant, and you would insert the menu into it. And you can actually see it in the older videos that they were just standing on top of the tables, and you could also see that they kind of blocked the view. So they fell out of fashion and got replaced by regular menus. But we don't exactly have a scan of the original menu for the restaurant. We have a very blurry picture, but that's about it. So that's currently something that needs to be found as well.
We are happy for any materials you can provide. So as final thoughts, just want to get back to why we do all of this. Greatness is possible. Disney did it once. We can all do it again. Don't settle for any less. Make sure that we go for what is really possible in this and every other area in our themed entertainment. Thank you all so much for showing up, and to my collaborators, keep in
Thank
touch
you, guys.
for Futureport and Seabase. We are all around on the Twitters and so on. And be well. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks, guys.